tonight we are doing the first live stream for the Indie Takeover. And as I mentioned in the last video, we're basically promoting a ton of indie projects from everybody across the spectrum here and getting more eyes on it because we need the indies to save all that creative stuff out there. We need new stories, new worlds, new everything. Mainstream isn't really cutting it, in my opinion, anymore. And there's a lot of gems out there. So today we have three guests to share their work. We have Joker the Fool, we have JVP, and we have Richard. And they're going to talk about some stuff they have going on. And just want to, again, thank you guys for stopping by to watch this. So we're going to start with Joker the Fool. We're going to turn this on here. So we have your Substack here. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I am Joker the Fool. I'm the writer and owner of Velvet Room Publishing, and I've written one book, Machine to Man, that's my sci-fi novel. It's right on the front page of my Substack. I also do a daily poll every day on the Substack. That's right below that, so it's a question about basically anything that crosses my mind, and I post that every day, so you can check that out. I also do reviews, and I have a podcast in the Velvet Room with Joker the Fool. That's my solo thing. And then every Wednesday, my co-host, some stoner from Oregon who hates the government as much as I do, we talk about a various amount of cultural topics. And we film that on Sundays, but we post it on Wednesday. So it's called Hump Day Potpourri because it's a variety of things we talk about on Wednesday. So my Substack's got written content, it's got audio content, and it's where I post everything about Velvet Room Publishing is on that Substack. And if you check out the Machine to Man Out Now post, you can read a sample of the book. Um, you can also get all the links to buy the book if the sample piques your interest. So that's that's my little spiel there. But yeah, so I am a writer by I guess by trade in terms of the what I do independently. I want to become an artist. I draw every day, but I want to make Machine to Man a graphic novel, make it a visual novel, make comics and all these sorts of things. But my drawing is way below par to start doing that. But my writing, I think, is actually pretty decent. So I'm leaning more into the writing part of being a writer artist right now. So I've got a lot of stuff I want to write and get out to the people, but I have this I guess weekly and daily regimen of content that I focus on, and of course, I work a full-time job in the rat race as well, and I've got family obligations, so some things do fall in the cracks a little bit. But I do have a lot of content on my Substack, and that's where I would like you all to follow me if it piques your interest. And I really do not have anything else to say um, about that at this moment.
No, you definitely have a lot of stuff to do. When you first sent me this link, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much here. And I think from a perspective of somebody who's new, I think that's amazing. You get to know more about you, the author, and we get to see some other things you're interested in. I like the idea of a daily poll and to keep people engaged. I like they have a podcast. So tell us a little bit more about Machine to Man, because I did read a little bit about what it was about, but do you want to talk
Yeah.
more?
So Machine Man is a science fiction novel. It takes place in the pretty distant future. I think like year 2200 is when I have it take place, and it's basically a society of androids is trying to take over humanity, and one of the androids that was built to basically usher in this hive mind, taking all of the minds of these androids and making them function as one perfect hive mind. Instead of him doing that, he defects from this android society and he becomes a human being. And it really follows his realization. Once he makes the realization that he doesn't want to be part of this genocidal android society, he defects and then he becomes a human. And then the plot of that book is all the events that ensue from that decision. So I don't want to get too much into what happens after that because that's the book and that's the spoiler content. But that's
Mhm.
basically what it is. It's meant to make you question the nature of being human. It's also, it's got a romance. There's a lot of everyday interactions in it, so it's more relatable than it would seem if you read the sample. It definitely starts out as being this like technical sci-fi thing, but I do think it's a story that's more than that. And I think there's a lot of stuff that's relevant in terms of the transhumanistic society that we're getting into. I mean, we were talking about Neuralink and Apple Vision Pro and all these sorts of
Yep.
things where people are basically turning into cyborgs. So I think it's a really relevant thing to have, and I just thought of it as a really good story, and I was able to write it. So it's about 36,000 words, which is about the length of the Lion, which and the wardrobe. You know, to make that
Mhm.
in terms of another story that's the length of. Now, am I the next C.S. Lewis? No, but I always like to make that comparison. Just
Yes. It's a good idea to give people an idea of how long the book is, 'cause
mhm.
some people like long books and some people,
Yeah, but yeah, this is
mm.
definitely on the shorter side. So it's a pretty quick read. You could probably read it in like a day if you were really committed to it, but you could definitely read it in the course of a week if you just write it throughout your like lunch breaks or whatever. So it's a very nice good read. I want to write a prequel to it because not that I left stuff out, but there's stuff that um I can go into detail and explain and how some things happen that play out in this book, like why some things are the way that they are that a prequel would explain, and the way the story is structured, it has a very definitive ending for the characters involved. So, but a prequel is something I think would be really interesting to go into, and it would be even more relevant to the current day. So that's what I want to do. But the next book I'm writing is a nonfiction book on gender ideology. That post goes into detail on it, and I've made a good bit of progress on it. But as I was talking with Missy before the show, it's a very technical, academic sort of thing. So it's very dry to write. But I am much more of a fiction writer, and that's what I want to do. I want to get into well, eventually I'll have a paid Substack, and part of that will be a series of short stories that'll be on the Substack. I won't say exactly what that'll be yet. I have ideas for it. I want to keep that close to my chest, but I definitely want to do a lot of fiction writing and have that be on my Substack as paid content, along with paid content for the podcast that I do, and have like a monthly movie review that the community picks, and
That
I
sounds
review.
fun.
Yeah, stuff like that. So I definitely plan on um my Substack being a long-term thing to make content for, and also doing a paid Substack. And if I am very fortunate enough to get people's support, then it's something I could put even more time to than I do already. And if
Mhm.
I could make it my my job, my career, that would be fantastic. But I just like I like writing, and I'm going to keep doing this because it's a passion of mine. I want to have a cultural impact, and I think this is personally the most effective way for me to do it.
Yeah, I think your Substack is off to a great start. I honestly, like I said earlier, it's nice that everything is here that you do. And I think as you progress, especially with short stories, I think that's really gonna grow really well. You have everything here. It's basically a website where you can find everything you're doing. But yeah, the story you're right that you talked about sounds really interesting, and I really like that it kind of touches on the transhumanism and like people are turning more into the cyborg type thing with all the technology coming out and how it can be not the best thing, definitely need to check that out. Yeah, I think you're off to a good start in general with your goals and with the stories you want to do, and I'm excited to see where you go with that. And I think a prequel is also a great idea because there's always in the back of your mind when you're reading stories like this, like how did this happen? Like what was the beginning that started where the society went? And a prequel can answer a lot of those questions and really make you think too about are we like in that ourselves? Should we kind of think about how we're pushing uh society, stuff like that. I think that's a good idea because there aren't many prequels that I read. And well, like in series that I have, I don't really see prequels, so I like that you're kind of going back to touch on that in the beginnings.
You mentioned C.S. Lewis.
Mhm.
Have you read That Hideous Strength? Was that an influence on this?
No, I don't. I think I might watch like one Narnia movie, but no, C.S. Lewis isn't an influence on me. What I have read is The Hobbit. I like that book, and I got the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings book for Christmas. So eventually, what I'm going to do is go through those, and that'll be inspiration for my short stories because I want to get into high fantasy, and I
Mhm.
figure Tolkien is the high fantasy king. So that's where I prefer to draw inspiration from. But no, I've never really liked the Narnia series. I'm not like rabidly against it. It's just that I think when I was looking at like the length of my book or something like that, or like the length of novels in general, that came up as being around the same length of my book, and it's a well-known book, which is why I make that comparison. So
Yeah. Okay. I just wasn't sure because the that hideous strength has a lot of discussion about transhumanism and technology and whatnot. That seems to. I feel like it would be a good. I don't know. It seemed like a likely source of inspiration given the comment. That's all.
oh yeah, yeah no, but my biggest inspiration was an anime. I like anime, and there was this one anime, Darling in the Franxx, I was watching back in like 18 when I was first conceptualizing this, and it got me on the nature of thinking about like humanity and technology and all these sorts of things. And I was thinking about all these stories that I could do, and I couldn't really settle on any of them. So there weren't any that popped in my head. I was like, well, I can't find out a way to make this progress as a story, and then I came up with this one. And I wrote the first draft. I got like 13,000 words into it. I threw it out, and then I worked on the second draft. And then that took me like 3.5 years to complete. And then I actually completed it, and that was like a bit of like a shock to me that I actually did this. And then I was like, oh wow, what's the next thing I'm going to do? And then I've gotten into I'm a much better writer than when I even when I finished this book, in terms of just like how much I've developed as a person and how much more I know. The idea of writing not just as like a hobby, but as something where the intention is to have a book that people can hold in their hands. That's a whole different ball game than just like tapping away at a Google Doc because you find it to be personally entertaining or
Yeah.
fulfilling. So those are two different things, and that's what it all started out for me. Was just like, oh, I have this story, I want to write a novel. Let's go for it. And I went for it, and I actually got it. And I have this story, and people seem to like it from what I have. People love the cover of it. So I did a lot of things right in terms of like getting the cover design on point, getting it edited well, and all these sorts of things. So I think I have a interesting story on my hands. I think the prequel will be good, and I think what I do next will also be worth taking a look at, because I think I'm a decent writer. Definitely not like the best, or everything I do is gold, but I think I can maintain the reader's interest, and that's really the most important thing.
It's yeah, definitely, and you need to always make sure whatever it is you're telling, that the reader can actually understand what you're saying, and sometimes that can be difficult. So, since you were writing this, what were one of the challenges you had when writing Machine to Man, like
Oh,
in the beginning?
the beginning of the book was the hardest thing. So if you read this book, it starts off from the perspective of a machine. So there were so many words that I could not use, because it's like, well, a human would use this word. So it was a very
Oh.
dry way of writing that I wasn't really I don't know, able to write anything like that. And then it got a lot easier once I got past that first part. So I think like after I got past the first part, it kind of, I wouldn't say wrote itself, but it became a much easier thing to write.
Mhm.
So it was just like planning out the beginning, getting the story very solidly in my mind. When I was struggling to write the beginning, and I was thinking about stuff that was happening towards the end. But once I got past I don't know, 10 to the 10th chapter or whatever in the
Mhm.
in the book, it became a much easier thing for me to write and engage with, and these characters to be more well developed. And I was like, okay, the plot's really clear in my mind. This is what these characters would do, so this is
Mhm.
how it's going to end. And that's what was basically the hump, was getting over that. So it's like what I spent like the first, like, I don't know, probably like 2.5 years, like the end of 18 towards like the beginning of 22. I was really
Uh-huh.
just like I was very on and off with it. So I wasn't like every day spending hours a day trying to write this
Right.
book. It'd be
Yeah.
like maybe one day every 2 weeks I would have like actual inspiration to write, and then I would write it. And then towards the end, of course, I was like writing a lot more consistently. because it was very swarmed in my head. I was like, at the 15-minute breaks on my job that I used to work at, I'd be sitting on the toilet just tapping it in my phone because I had it in my mind. So
You
I
got
just knew, yeah.
it.
I was like, I gotta get it down. Like
Yeah,
I know, like what it's in my head. But that's how like inspired I was eventually because
that's
I had got
amazing.
yeah, I gotten over that hump. But yeah, it was that, and then just getting it written was the hardest thing. But with the whole self-publishing thing, figuring out how to do this because this was my first project, and figuring out how to typeset and get a
Hmm.
EPUB and do all these sorts of things that, like, if you want to get it done on Lulu and Smashwords and all these sorts of platforms, like figuring out how they want all these sorts of things and doing all this sorts of all this sort of stuff. So it was this transition, like I said, from doing it purely as a hobby to saying, okay, I want to actually sell and operate as a business. And that happened as well when Machine Demand was completed. So those were, I would say, the two hardest things, like learning how to
Yeah.
self-publish and then just getting the beginning. But if purely creatively, then it was definitely getting over the hump of writing the beginning, because the beginning of the book is very much unique in terms of writing because of it takes place from the
From the
perspective
yep.
of a machine. So many words I could not use, so many ways of writing and expression that you would usually use, I just couldn't use. So I had to rewrite things and constantly go
Yeah.
through it. And so that's basically
That
creative.
sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, it definitely
So,
was. But
did
I
you
got
did you find yourself like thinking differently, like yourself when doing the robot perspective? Like, were you so like engrossed in how a robot would speak? Did you like see a change in yourself or anything for like that period of time, or did
I don't
you?
think so. I'm a very dry analytical person, so I think I was just channeling that part of my personality out into that.
There you go.
So yeah, so I don't think I necessarily changed too much, but it was definitely a very fun thing to do. And I am looking at the chat. I think Rugai said this. I am an anarcho-capitalist, so just put that out there. That's why I chose the black and yellow.
Oh, there
That's
you
part of that.
go.
So
There
yeah,
you go.
it's
Okay.
yeah,
So
it's
there is
very
more meaning to the color than just looking
yeah.
good.
And it looked like it also looked really nice. Of
It
like
does.
the mock-ups that my cover designer gave me. That was the one that struck that's the one that stuck out to me the most, and I went with that. And then it was like the black and yellow was also a great color scheme as
Yeah, I
well.
think that worked out well then. I do like that you're talking about too about the typesetting and stuff because I've watched a couple videos and there are some author friends I have and hearing them talk about that part alone, like it's I don't want to say it drives me nuts, but it's just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about how much work you guys put into that. I never realized how intensive that can be sometimes to get everything lined up for your chapters and margins and everything else. I'm sitting here like, yeah, you just export it and it's fine or something. And apparently it's not that easy.
Oh yeah. Well, I watched I think it was like MK Williams had a video on YouTube about it. It was like basically showing how to do it, like do like the 6x9, that's the American trade. And then just formatting everything and then making sure that all the text fits, nothing sticks out, it's in the right font. So yeah, it's a bit involved, but once you get into how to do it, it's actually kind of relaxing because
Mhm.
it's not like it's not very intense mentally, especially compared to writing something, because you're just taking text and copy pasting it in, making sure it all fits in and all goes it all looks decent as well. So but there's a lot more that goes into getting a book ready for print than just like taking your Word document and just exporting it. So
Mhm.
and that's one of the things that I had to learn. So so especially like I said, with getting this book out there, I had to learn how to self-publish because I had never done it before. Like I said, this was just a hobby of mine, of me tapping into Google Doc. Because
Mhm.
I just had this idea in my head, and I thought that's where I was going to stay. But then I was able to get it out, and it was like
Which is
getting,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
It's always nice when you can not only finish a story, but do more with just, oh, I finished it. And I think a lot of people just don't really see how indie authors, how much work it goes into. So I'm really glad that you were able to talk about that a bit because I think it's important to show like when you're supporting an indie author, it's not just the story, it's a lot of work they put in just to get it out to the reader. That's a challenge in and of itself. So I'm glad that people can hear that. It's a side of writing that I don't think people get to hear a lot about very often. So, all right. So, we got all of your stuff here. Where else can people find you? Is it just the Substack, or do you have any other socials you like?
I'm on Twitter, so you can follow me. Velvet Room Pub. That's the Twitter for Velvet Room Publishing. I also have another account, Joker the Foolio. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey. I post my audio content there as well. I do have a website, although it's not live. I have the velvetroompublishing.com. I own the domain for that, but I haven't really done anything with it yet. But yeah, the Substack's the main place. I'm also on Minds and Gab as well. And I'm pretty sure oh yeah, Truth Social as well. I think as Joker, if you search Joker the Fool or Velvet Room Publishing or the Daily Poll on Daily Poll Velvet Room Publishing on like Gab or Truth Social, you can find me there. But my Substack is where I post everything. So that's
Awesome.
the
So you're everywhere basically.
yeah, basically. So.
Which is awesome. It's always good to do because you never know when one of these sites goes insane. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing all this stuff. This is really cool. I really like your daily polls too. I see them sometimes. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. They're very thought-provoking. I think this one is interesting. I see that sometimes, and
Oh yeah, so
a lot of parents they're very honest and like, no, but it's just very interesting.
Yeah, so the next one will be, do you regret not having kids? And then yeah, so
that'll be a really interesting poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, thank you for sharing Machine to Man and your Velvet Room Publishing Substack with a lot of cool stuff to check out. If you haven't already, go make sure to follow the Substack. You can just type your email in here to subscribe, or if you bookmark it, follow him on social media. Take a look at Machine to Man and get the sample, read that, and then go buy it. You should. And yeah. All right, thank you again, Joker the Fool. We are going to move on to JVP now. So I'm going to get your
thank you.
video.
And hello, everyone.
All right. So first, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself before we get to your project?
Sure. Oh, before I talk about myself, there's like a number of things that Joker the Fool said where I'm just like, yep.
Oh,
I know
yeah,
exactly
definitely. Yeah, I know. I'm like taking notes over here.
And just fair warning, I am definitely the dumbest and least articulate person on this panel. So, but yeah, like going into how he was writing the beginning and how he was limited and the information that he can relay and how do you make that good and still grip people in a way. Like we go through that problem a whole lot because we're technically writers, but we do a heavy metal audio comic, right? And I'll go back and give some backstory, but this one, issue 2, is like 24 minutes long. And even though it's 24 minutes, if you looked at the script, it's like 2.5 pages. There's like not a whole lot there. So it's like, how do we get across the information with having like so little space? Like that's the problem I run into. But yeah, that was a lot of good wisdom in what Joker was saying there.
Yes.
Anyway,
I appreciate it. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, about me. I'm an old man, 40. I've been doing music since I was about 8 years old. Started on piano. After that, I did some choir singing. Then I went into middle school, high school band, both marching and concert. Award-winning drumline. We were definitely troublemakers, and basically everybody in that drumline is still like my best friends today. After that, we started a heavy metal band after high school and got pretty big locally down here in South Florida. Had 2 record offers that we didn't take because we would have been poor and broke. And that kind of fell apart. Did another band between that and today's time. And after that band fell apart, I took a break from music for about a decade, about 9 years. And then 5 years ago, I got back into it, set up my home studio. And I really did it because I wanted to score film. Like that's the one thing I didn't really do, and I kind of want to score film. I have no idea what I'm doing. I haven't done music in 9 years, so I went through this arduous process of just creating projects to score to either film or audio, like an audio book. And I would work closely with my brother, who was the front man of my metal bands. I've been creative with my brother for 20 years, and we eventually kind of decided to do this project called Ruthless. Which is a combination of me doing the story and the score, My brother doing the voice acting, narration, and rewriting the dialogue, so it's good because I am terrible at dialogue writing. And then we go out and contract an artist to do the visuals for it. And the artist is Sean Stevens. He's got a comic out called Red. But yeah, just kind of added a couple different elements together to try and produce something a little bit unique that nobody's really doing out there. Or maybe not nobody, but not a lot of people are doing.
Yeah, when you shared this, I was like, "Oh, this sounds awesome!" It's like when they were doing animated comics for a while. It reminded me of that, but it's a whole series, and I think that's way more entertaining than just the animated version of the comics. That they were like, "Oh, we'll just take the images and move them ever so slightly." This just looked really cool, so I want to play just a little bit.
Sure.
It's 24 minutes. So you don't want to. I don't want to spoil anything either because it's episode or issue 2. So
yeah, I'll give you if you want. I'll give you some timestamps. If you want to just hit play this opening, we'll just give you the recap of the first issue, which might be good to just kind of hear real quick.
Yeah.
Then you'll have the opening screen intro, and then you'll have the opening scene of issue 2. That stops at the 3-minute mark. So if that's too long, 3 minutes. Or if you want to skip the recap at the beginning, I think it's 103 to 3 minutes is just the opening scene. So I'll let you choose.
Well, geez. We'll do the 103. And we'll start there for the opening. I'm going to go back and watch the 3-minute and just
sure. So for those watching, just some quick setup. Issue 1, the world, basically all electricity just dies in planet Earth. The story follows the protagonist. His name is Ash. He is away from his family on a business trip as this happens and has to travel from Chicago to Florida on foot as the world is falling apart. People start killing each other because there's no electricity, right? Gets home, his family's missing. A random encounter happens. He saves this young boy. The young boy's mother dies, so he's kind of now the caretaker of this young boy named Eddie, and this is where the first scene picks up.
All right. Hit play. Make sure audio should work.
I do not think it's coming across.
Yeah, I don't hear it come through.
Oh, no. Let me try this. Hold on a second. Sorry, guys. Share screen. Also share tab audio. Yes.
It's definitely very loud. That's one thing my product is very loud.
It should be playing. Oh, share a tab or a screen. Okay, there we go. Screen 2. There we go. Turn it on. All right, we're ready.
All right, kid. Remember what I told you. When you decide to act, you go all in. Give it everything you got. Now, go get us some lunch. I took the kid out hunting today. We need to eat, and he needs to learn how to survive. And I can pick up a few things along the way. Okay, Eddie, now's the time. Go! Go, kid. Eddie, come on! Go! The kid hesitates. Eddie, I know what you're feeling, but there are things that gotta die. Don't hate it. Don't love it. Use it. Let it focus you. 'Cause that's what it means to be a man.
I love
and
this.
That's what you are now. So go kill that fucking thing. Go!
That was awesome. I love that so much. I'm like over here, this music's amazing. It like really brings you into the story, though. It adds another layer. It really does.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing that scene. I'm here to be feedback loop.
Oh, sorry. Let's try this again.
Check. Test. All right. I think that's
All
good.
right.
Are we good now?
Yeah, that opening
Okay.
I had a lot of fun writing because like I write differently. I'm not as far as I'm not a writer that makes you want to think. I'm a writer that makes you want to feel.
Ooh.
So everything's really simple, and because I do the music, like I literally write the story and the score for each scene at the same time to try and like align those as much as possible. So when I was writing this scene, it's like, man, how could we take someone from 0 to like 120, right? And
Yeah,
just
you
like
did that.
like to the point where like, all right, I'm jumping in the pit. Like that's basically what the goal is for that opening. But yeah, that's the whole thing is kind of a roller coaster of bringing you up and then kind of bringing you down, adding some horror elements a little bit later in the story. You know, we try and think of how to emotionally connect more so than connect at a like a logical level, I guess you could say.
Yeah, this is awesome. So, when you first came up with this idea and everything, what were the challenges that you were facing? Like, were you worried that it wasn't going to translate properly, or was it more difficult to write and then make the music, or lining it up, or what was it?
Yeah, well, some of the failed projects me and my brother did over the last 5 years before we did Ruthless was we did a bunch of scored audiobooks, high fantasy type setting. We did about 2.5 to 3 hours of it. So we actually kind of formed our craft, basically, for lack of a better term, over that process. And even though those stories, I think the story's good of what my brother wrote. My score wasn't good for those old ones. So I think from a music perspective, writing more of a hybrid score with some musical elements was a big thing for me. And introducing the visual and learning how to rely on different pieces of how we tell the story and ebb and flow between those pieces was a big challenge. We didn't do that too well in the first issue, even though I think the first issue has a lot of charm. It's not as tight as the second one. So learning how to let Joe, who's a ghost cat, that's my brother, that's the narrator. He's really good at what he does, right? He's kind of narrating this heavy metal front man in this story. That's a heavy metal story, and he used to be a front man, so it's just something that comes off natural to him. So letting him just kind of take over and grip the listener, or bring everything back and just push the music up like we did, after that open, or let the art stand out at certain points. Learning how to rely on each one of the aspects, learning how to have one or two of those pieces tell a story, and then bring all of those together to maybe climax a scene, and that was the most difficult part for me as far as improving from issue 1 to issue 2.
Awesome. It's always like your first book or your first anything you put out. There's always so much you learn, and then you apply everything you learn in the second one. Do you ever find yourself wanting to go back and change anything, or do you just accept it and then you just keep adding as you learn?
All the time. That's a musician's biggest problem is they want to go back and change something that's released, and it's like, just move on. My brother constantly has to tell me, he's like, we're just moving forward. We're not going back. All right.
It's good to have
musicians wanting to tinker. I have no experience with
that. Yeah, that's what I find to be difficult myself, is just learning to let it go and moving on. It's hard, but definitely I like that you're noticing your own improvement with each one too. And I have to go back and watch one now and then rewatch this because the music really pulls you in. And I like that the art and the story is kind of matching the mood. This just looks really cool. So how is it getting this concept to your artist? Is there any challenges that you find with that? Like, do you just give them a script and then you edit later, or how does that process work?
Yeah, and poor Sean and what he's had to do to put up with me. So the first issue, he was really because it's, even though he's the artist, it's my job to be the art director.
Right.
So if I don't give him the proper information, he's already starting, 100 feet back, right? Mm-hmm. And I think he unfortunately had to deal with me on the first one. And the art for the first one is not as concise as the second one. And after we went through that process, okay, what am I going to do to to make this better and arm my artist so he can do what he can do. Like, how can I maximize him, right? So what we did was what I did on my side was kind of like a mutant form of storyboarding, where it was the scene as far as just like a summary of what was being discussed. And then there was a breakdown of the panel as far as how the panel was split. Like you see 4 different images here, so how that's split, what's happening in each one of those panels, and then another one with the soundtrack of, okay, how do I want to open this? I want to do a slow build for this scene. Let's start off with some symphony type drums, not like a regular drum set, but like some timpanis or taiko drums. That's what those are, some taikos in the beginning of here, and have it build up and hit right when I need it to, and then we can bring in the metal because this is a heavy metal product.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a background
That's,
how to get there.
yeah, that's awesome. That I'm like trying to imagine like being given the prompt for this as an artist, like what would that look like?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, the
These-
storyboarding helped. The storyboarding
I-
definitely helped, and we've improved it a little bit, but we basically kept the same structure as last time and made a few adjustments. We're already in production for issue 3,
yes, that's
and
awesome.
made some adjustments to how we're doing that. But that process really worked out for us, so we're keeping it and refining it as we go.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the artist. I follow him as well, and he does fantastic work. So it's really nice to see all of this come together. I think it's wrapping up like perfectly. So where do you see this story taking you down the line? Like, do you see this being like more than 10 issues that you put out, or what is your plan for it in the future?
Yeah, well, even though it's like a video format, I'm referring to everything in comic terms. So there'll be 8
That's
issues
okay.
total. Eight issues total. That'll be the first, possibly final run. And once that's over, depending upon how much eyes this gets on it and what the clamoring is for more Ruthless, we have 2 more runs that we can do, which really take it in a whole different direction, but will still kind of fit with everything. But we wanted at least to plan out one good run, 8 issues. There's a beginning, there's a definite end, and that's it. So if it dies off there, it'll be a complete story.
Mhm.
And if people want more, we'll have an opportunity to give them more. It's depending.
That sounds awesome. Oh man. I'm excited to see where this goes. So with each video too, are they all going to be about 24 minutes long, or do you plan on making some shorter or some longer? Or does it just depend on the issue? Like,
Yeah, so the first issue was 17. This one's 24. I'm targeting the next one to be about 22 minutes. So they're all going to be in that 20-minute range, give or take.
okay.
I like the fact, one big thing about this, and I think this kind of hurts me, but our product is free. We don't charge for it. It's it's not a physical media that we're selling, which I think hurts us. I prefer physical media, but for us, it's like to put this on a flash drive and send it out just kind of seems like overkill. So it's like, my music's out there. It's listened to by quite a lot of people on a monthly basis. But as far as me as a personality promoting my own project, I'm a relatively nobody online as well, right? So we put it out for free. We're totally okay with that. We're really just putting this out there to give a name to ourselves.
Mhm.
And then we also feel like at that 20-minute average mark, as far as length, it's not that big of a commitment for someone to hop in there and say, let me take a look at this. So if we can grip you for 20 minutes and do that successfully, at the end of 8 issues, well, now we have a movie or 2 that we can do, or a series if it gets picked up for something animated. So we're looking at it, the long-term possibilities of what can happen with this.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. The 20-minute mark. I think you guys have something here, honestly. And I hope your channel grows, and if you make something off of this, that'd be awesome.
I'll hassle him to try and do a physical release whenever he gets
Okay.
done.
Hey, I mean, you could do like just DVD or something, Blu-ray. I don't know, but it's all done. I think that we all know physical media is the way to go. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'd buy it. So
We'll
I'll be
see.
your first customer. There you go.
I appreciate that. Right now, our focus is 100% on the story. and it's funny, like when I put out the first one, a lot of people watched it. Richard was really instrumental in me keeping this project going after we released that first one. They had me on their show. They have a stream with it's Richard, Royce Drinker Crazy, and Daniel P. Riley. They do a show called Iron Age Nights. They're the first person to promote the first issue when we released it, and a lot of people enjoyed it. I think they enjoyed and were more excited about the concept more than anything, which is enough to me. If the concept is really cool, but there was some shortcomings in the writing, or the second quarter of the first one, as far as the pacing, dragged quite a bit, which it did. I'll tell you right now. If once you get to the middle of that first one, it picks up and it's a lot more like issue 2. But there are some problems with that. But a lot of the feedback that I received from Richard and everybody surrounding Richard that would see it on the show, and friends request me and we'd start talking in DMs. I got a lot of feedback from people who were also creators, writers, comic book artists, and all of that really helped. I mean, we took everything in and really kind of took a critical look at ourselves and say, okay, how can we get better? Because that's what we want to do. But
that's awesome. It's always nice when people are like, oh my gosh, let me get you some stuff. Let me send you some feedback. That's always nice to get, especially from people who have been through the ringer, so to speak, already.
Yeah.
And they can share that experience with you. I love that. Oh man, I'm excited for this. I'm like trying not to hit play and just disappear for 20 minutes. Let's see. So for the story, I know you said that after the 8 issues, you have a couple ideas for the story. What can people expect in issue 3?
Yeah, so to what to expect in issue 3, I guess quick summary of issue 1 and 2. I already kind of gave it, but issue 1, we introduce the world, do some world building. We introduce the protagonist. The story across the board, it's a rather simple story. So there's not going to be a lot of heavy twists and turns. It's just, here it is, right? Here's our story. It's very character based. Again, because we have the music, we want to do a lot of character building and building between the characters. The father and son relationship that Ash and Eddie develop, the rivalry and intensity of the hatred between the main protagonist and antagonist, which we'll start to get into in issue 3 very heavily. Me and my brother are big villain guys. Your hero is only as good as your villain, and if your villain sucks, then your story sucks. So right, we're really focused on making the villain just like, whoa, man. So that's what to expect in issue 3. We're really going to ramp up the plot and drive that plot forward starting in the next issue, introduce the antagonist, and it's going to start moving really quickly from that point all the way until the end, the last issue.
Very awesome. I love a good villain. So the fact you brought that up, I'm like, yes. Oh man, but you're right. A good story is as good as its villain. And that sounds awesome. I'm excited now. Okay. Well, I was excited before, but I mean, the villain part, I'm really curious to see where that's going to go. I'm excited. Awesome. All right.
My personal favorite part about the villain, because the hero, we have themes for Ruthless. There's a theme that opens it, a theme that ends it. Mm-hmm. It's already kind of catchy because people will when they retweet the project when I released it, I think somebody put you gotta be, which is part of the theme at the end. So I know my themes are catchy for the show, but now I get to write the bad guy theme, right? I get to write the Imperial March, or the Darth Vader theme of my story. And that's the process I'm going through now with writing that opening scene for the next one, that's my favorite part of all this, is composing the music for it, and doing the villain's theme is like the pinnacle for me. So I'm really excited.
Oh, that's awesome. So since you are doing the music, do you ever find that it's harder to write the music to match the story, or vice versa? Or do you start with the music in mind? I
go both ways.
Oh,
and
okay.
that could be clipped out of context, but sometimes sometimes it makes sense for me to do the music. So for this scene, right? Mm-hmm. There's a couple of different sections of music. You have the taiko drums, then you have this little synth part where the filter kind of fades in to kind of start raising the stakes. Then you have the guitar come in where it's like, okay, it didn't sound heavy until now, and there's this nice chunky part coming in. You have the drums introduced, and it kicks in. So I kind of divided up into 3 different sections of music. So the opening to me, when I wrote the story and the dialogue, or the initial dialogue before it was rewritten by Ghost Cat, was okay, what goes on in that first little chunk, what goes on in that second little chunk, and then how do we build in that third chunk to make everything hit? So I wrote the music out first, but I already kind of knew from a dialogue perspective of what was going in each section. And then you get like a draft down in the music program, and then you just smooth it out, basically, is the best way I can put it.
Nice. I mean, it turned out nice. So I like how you were able to do the music first, or vice versa. I'm guessing from a creative
John's
perspective.
killer, man. He puts out tons of great tunes. I for the first issue of Anvil, I like at the 11th hour tapped him for a like 30-second little clip to put with an ad for a trailer. And I sent him a totally bizarre request, essentially, and he nailed exactly what I wanted from it, you know. And
That's awesome.
So since then, he's also been working on some other projects with us that are going to be shipping as soon as possible. But
Very cool.
yeah, man, he's a talented guy.
The music sounds awesome. Like when it got to the
yeah, but not
part, I was
not
like,
just
all right,
like,
all
I mean,
right.
he could do it all. He's great.
This is like something I'm like, all right, gotta go, guys. Gotta listen to this music. All right.
Yeah,
awesome.
I love, being in 2 metal bands. I obviously love heavy metal. To me, it's the most potential as far as music to be aggressive and intense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's healthy for a guy to take aggressive and intense emotions and focus that in the music. It's a very balancing act for a gentleman to go through, right? So that's why I like writing metal. But I also like writing orchestral synth. I like doing stuff for like fantasy and sci-fi. I like big grand music, so I can do really any one of those. And I've done music for trailers for about 5 or 6 different Iron Age creators. I'd love to do music for trailers for Comicsgate creators. So if you're in there and you need me, hit me up. I see Chilkin Immortal Rising in the chat. What's up? And I work for free. The only thing I will say is, if you come to me with a project, if it's a project I don't think I would do a good job on, I'll decline it, because I don't want to do a bad job, or I don't want to write something I feel is a hassle. If you come to me and you're like, hey, I've got this fantasy project, here's kind of a summary of what happens. If it's on the darker side, good. Like, that's kind of how I lean toward music. So if I feel I could do a job in your project, I'll do it for free. Doesn't matter. If I don't feel like I'll do a good job, I'll just say I don't think I will, and I'll step back.
That's very awesome. It's very hard to find people who are honest with what they can and cannot do, or what they feel like they know they're going to accomplish for someone.
Royce was trying to get him for a tiptoe through the tulips style intro for himself, but he shot him down. So I know he's a little crushed, but
darn. All right. Well, thank you for sharing this. I'm going to share this video again in the chat, and whoops, I'm breaking stuff over at my end. All right, and we will see here, and we get your Twitter up there. Is there any other sites that you want to share with anybody?
Just no, you shared a direct link for issue 2, which that's what I want you to watch. If you don't have to go back and watch issue 1. If you're giving it a fresh shot, and this is the first time you've heard of me or my project, go straight to issue 2. There's a recap there. Watch that. I want that to be your first impression of our work. If you like it, go back and watch issue 1 to get the rest of the details. Outside of that, just my Twitter page. That's how I promote everything. So my Twitter main page and my YouTube, and that's it.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you for sharing this project. It is awesome, and I cannot wait to go rewatch all this. I am going to be just excited, and nobody can bother me and disrupt the music, because it's gonna set the mood. All right. Well, thank you. Yes, I'm very confident I will, because I was right about to be like, all right, guys, we're done. I gotta listen to this. All right. So thank you again for coming on to showcase your heavy metal audio comic. And we're going to showcase Richard's work now from Iron Age Media. So we're going to Anvil Magazine. So tell us about your project and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so there's a couple things going on here, and if you want to, did I drop that? No, I didn't. There we go. I actually dropped a link in the private chat for the trailer for issue number 3, and right now I do have a handful of pre-orders and or not pre-orders, but Overrun that are still available. So if you want a physical copy, you can grab it. We're going to be launching issue number 4 very soon. But if you want to play this real quick,
Yeah. All right.
you may
Let me
recognize
let
some
me
of the
actually
music there.
get this going so
Yeah, I'll
audio
mute.
shows up.
We can mute so that we don't echo.
Let's see here. Entire screen. Share. All right.
I think it's the audio is not coming through, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Is audio gone through?
Uh,
Try it again.
no, unfortunately not, man. I don't know what that is. Restreams.
Oh, maybe. Let me mute you guys and see what happens.
Yeah.
Let me try this music one more time. Sorry, I don't know why it's not working now. Window. Bill. Oh, there it goes. Okay, now it should work.
All right.
That is awesome. That was cool. I love that. That really took you somewhere. Oh, autoplay was on. That definitely took you somewhere for sure. Like it really, that world building and the visuals. Oh, that was awesome. Oh man.
Yeah, I think I'm feedback.
Yeah.
Let me turn this off. I don't know why there's feedback. Ugh. Let's try that. All right.
There we go. Okay. And then if you want to pop back over to anvilmagazine.com.
Mm-hmm.
So this is issue number 3. And that trailer featured both the 3rd issue of Anvil Magazine as well as First Strike, which is a showcase that was put together. Jake Calta, who is somebody who has collaborated with me on Anvil, he came to me and wanted to basically put together a collection of music, and JVP, Evely, and also Chill Kid, who's in the chat right now. Shout out.
Nice.
And AC, and I think I I don't think I missed anybody just now, but
Yeah, that was everybody.
I was gonna say I get to the end of the list and I'm like, wait, what did I say first?
Yeah,
But
like
anyway,
how are people you got a list?
yeah, exactly. This is why I gave up on trying to list all the authors on the magazine. But they put together a great little showcase here, and that was a couple examples of the music on there. We still have some overrun from that. I'm there's a physical CD option as well as the download. The disc maker, the people that I ordered the CDs from are giving me the shipping time runaround at the moment, but it'll be out there very soon. Issue number 3. So just in general, to go back about Anvil, which is sort of the premier thing that I've been working on for the past year. That is a collection of short fiction, comics, and art, and it's all focused on the indie works. So we've got a lot of talented authors and whatnot there. If you want to, there we go. Yeah, so you want to click in on one of the just the magazines
Just
there.
the magazine? Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So this is the digital version, but if you'll scroll down, there's quite a bit of there's some larger.
Oh, here
There
we
you
go.
go.
Oh, this looks awesome.
So this is the feature story. It's a classic kind of pulp style adventure tale. It's illustrated by Marcos Rios. This is Rattel Ancestors. I should have updated this one because A Saga of Sunsets is also in color. It's done by Luke Stone, written by A.C. Pritchard. Let's see here. This is illustrated by Joe Zahn, written by Misha Burnett. Havoc's Odalisque. This is kind of a classic Conan-esque tale. It's really quite good. I love this story. I love all the stories, but I think this one's a little bit more cerebral than people would probably expect for, strong dude, kill people, hot lady kind of stuff, Got Valiant Storm by John A. Douglas, illustrated by Johan Alexander. And that's a killer kind of cyberpunk heist story. Anamoyo's Inheritance, Donald Jacob, and I'm so sorry, but I've never learned how to pronounce his last name. But he's a talented author, a fun, well, I don't know if I'd call it fun, but a very
entertaining,
compelling, I would say a very emotional journey, father-son story, in a kind of mystical Japan that is that I don't know. I would recommend it. I love all these stories. This issue had like over 100 submissions, so it was hard to even narrow it down to these. All these are great. Jacob Calta also
more stuff
in there.
Oh my goodness.
So, and then we got a couple of prompts. So this is issue number 3. Issue number 2 and issue 1 are also available. I kind of go back to what John was saying with issue number 1. The content wise, I think issue number 1 is excellent and holds up to the other 2 in terms of formatting and layout. The stuff that I actually did, and like just a few little things here and there, it still causes me pain. I look back on it and I go, like why are the QR codes different sizes based on which page you're on? Like just little stuff that I guess most people probably don't notice, but I see it. It makes me, cringe a little bit. So, but yeah, this issue is, I would say, one of the strongest ones that we've had so far.
This is awesome.
A bit more horror themed, although not heavily so. And issue number 4 is going to be funding soon. It's kind of going to have a little bit more of a military sci-fi spin to it. Not, once again, with these themes, it's not overly, it's not hitting you in the face with anything. It's just going to be a little bit of a light trend. And I've kind of gotten to, on the second issue, I told everybody I'm going for light horror, and I got a lot of light horror and a lot of different horror things. And I was like, to still increase the variety, because my goal with Anvil is to be a entry point for people who are wanting to get into the like the indie market, and they don't know who they like, and they don't know what their maybe they don't even necessarily know what their tastes are beyond um, the various mainstream properties. So the legacy media, one of the things that I think people like consumers have a problem going from that to indie is it's very easy in the legacy media. They make it so that you can um, like you don't have a lot of decisions. You're like, I like cowboys, therefore I'm going to watch Yellowstone. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of taste once you get into the indie space that you have to develop on your own. So Anvil is that first stepping stone into the indie world, along with a good selection of different things. You might read something. You're probably going to read something in Anvil that you are like, that was. I mean, that was good, but it didn't suit me necessarily. But I'm also think that you're going to read and look at like whether it be art or the comics, and you're going to take this in. You're going to be like, I need to find more of that. I never would have come across that if I was just trying to, um, stick to the legacy media outlets or any of the other streaming services. And it also would have been difficult to find just in the sea of indies. So that's what I'm going for with Anvil.
That's awesome. That's actually perfect because that was when I started off looking into indie stuff. That was what I struggled with, was finding who to start with. Like, I like these stories, but where do I start? Who do I look for? And it's by having a collection like this, you get a taste of what every artist and what every writer can do, and if that's something that you want more of. And I love that. And also, I'm just going to say I love this wish list option. Because I always I love these buttons. I collect, and then when I get the money, I'm like, massive buy.
And BigCommerce has been good. They're not as censorious as Shopify, but there's definitely been some hiccups with the site. And I don't know, for vendors, if you haven't set up the site yet, I would almost caution you guys you might just deal with the devil and go with Shopify, because
oh man,
yeah, I know.
They just sent me a mail.
There's a little bit of pain. Yeah, there's a little bit of pain, but
I get you.
Yeah, and I'm also going to be starting in March, whenever I start funding for issue number 4, that I'm going to begin a monthly subscription option. So if you want to just pay $5 a month, every 3 months you'll get the newest version of Anvil in terms of digital, and I think it's going to be like $12.99 a month if you just want to get the newest version or physical version. So that'll be a new way to subscribe for people. I'm selling annual subscriptions, and those have extra perks. The digital one is $40 for a year, so it's a lot cheaper than buying the individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ironsmith, which the Forge Master should not be available anymore, because that's one where I'm actually going to be putting it on an anvil and hammering it. And I didn't want to accidentally get a case where I had too many people order extras and then I have too many seconds, because I don't want to send somebody a screwed up copy. But the Ironsmith version, which is I think $150, that's all of the physical versions mailed every 3 months, plus a 11x17 cover and other goodies and things like that. So there's a lot of extras. But if you just want the physical and you just want to do it monthly, which I totally understand, I'm going to be setting that up in March.
That's awesome. This gives me so I love collecting short stories because, like I said earlier, just you get a taste of everybody. But this just has the fact we got all this in here. It just has a really unique vibe to it, and it kind of reminds me of some stuff back in the day. I want to. The first thing that comes to mind is heavy metal. Honestly,
Yeah. Well,
and I love that.
when I was planning this out, whenever I was doing the first issue, I went and I started looking at what was, what heavy metal is now, and then I also got old copies and I looked at what heavy metal was, and now heavy metal is all comics, and I really think that something was lost there because the thing that heavy metal did well is they really encapsulated this certain style and everything else, but it was also a certain edginess and kind of pushing the boundaries of what was out there and trying new stuff and kind of bringing these old like pulp style stories to comic pages in ways that more adult ways, right?
Mhm.
And if you go now, it looks, to me, everything looks very formulaic.
Yeah.
The art is, I'm not going to like diss the art, but I think it's very homogenous. And if you just even looking at this issue, you could see that we've got very different artists in there, and I think
Yes.
each one of them is very talented in the style that they're going for.
Yes,
And
and I love that you're able to showcase those different styles, because it kind of shows from a reader's perspective. There's different, artists out there, and then different styles fit different stories, and it's good to have a variety. It's good. It's just refreshing,
Mhm.
honestly, to see all
Yeah,
these different styles and different storytelling elements, and everyone's got their own unique spin on this stuff, and I think that's amazing.
yeah, and like the bonsai, um, who did the Anamoyo's Inheritance there, he
Mhm.
has a very distinctive art style. He did a horror comic in issue number 2 that um, it has like a lot of dark space. It leaves a lot of room. It's very atmospheric, and it matches the theme of what he's doing. But I saw what he had done, and I thought to myself, because I'd seen some of his other work, and I was like, I think he'd work perfectly with Anamoyo's Inheritance. And there's only 2 illustrations in that one. I'm kind of leaning more towards having more stories with fewer illustrations per story, and really
Ooh,
only making the feature like very heavily illustrated. You know,
I like that.
um, so um, it's fun. Issue number 4 is going to be killer. Let me see here. Now, I only have an ad that somebody put together, not somebody, the artist put together for that. Let me see if I can't share this with you guys, if I can get out of this.
Let me see.
Um,
Let me turn mine off and see if you can
there we go. All right. So let me.
show on stream. There we go.
There we go. So this is currently in ad form, but issue number 4 is going to feature a short story from the world of Land and Sea by Blanley Pardoe, and it's going to be set back in the Russo-U.S. war. So that's going to be some actual mech on mech battle,
This
and
is awesome.
he's put out 6 books in the last year, and I mean these are like Blanley Pardoe. I mean, mind you, he's been writing for longer than the year, and he's a for anybody who is not familiar with him, he's a big name within the BattleTech universe. He was he was basically cancel cultured out of there due to the activities of what is essentially a stalker, and
Ooh, that's
he
awful.
he went his own way, and they were shelving a bunch of his stuff, and he's like, man, I got a ton of ideas that I want to do. And honestly, if you're looking for kind of like the near future military sci-fi style stuff, I love the Land and Sea series. So this will be
This
the
looks
cover. It's
interesting.
gonna be Anvil on there at the top, and we're gonna have some pops for the comic and the stories and everything else. But it's going to be a killer issue. And then the interior art is going to be done by an artist that I had back in issue number 2, whose name I'm blanking on. It's Natan something, unfortunately, and he did the artwork for Afflicted which was very very gruesome at times, but it was all people and organics, and his one of his big things is drawing BattleTech fan art. So I'm getting him in there, and it's going to be an awesome. Like, he's already working with Brent Evans, who helped get this put together for the next cover, and they're going to have some excellent black and white interior art for the feature to go with it.
Very awesome. I love that he went from this crazy stalker situation to releasing his stories. That I hope.
Oh, I mean,
that more
he's
people
kind
read
of done
those.
his own thing for a little bit, but I mean, he is a well established.
Okay, that's good.
He's a well established.
It always sucks when you hear stuff like that. I'm like, man.
Yeah, he
I'm
also
glad
does
that
true
he's-
crime with his daughter and everything else. So
Aw.
there's and they just got on the news because one of their true crime stories turned out to be true.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that took a turn. Well, I mean, that's kind of the nature of true crime. So I guess works out. I guess.
Yeah.
That might make Blaine a suspect. He better be careful.
Well, it was the suspect. They figured out who the suspect was, and he'd been dead for like a decade or something.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
So
Wow.
They should be
Yeah.
safe then.
Yeah.
That's good. It's really cool though. That looks awesome. I like that BattleTech stuff.
yeah, so it's yeah, I love the way Anvil is going. I've probably right now, for any creatives out there who are watching issue number 5, if you go to anvilmagazine.com and click on the submissions tab up top over there, you can find out all the details of where to send things in. I think I don't know where I'm at in terms of submissions. I haven't been counting them, but I've got a couple comics. Probably got about 100 short stories to go through. So it'll be like it's intense. I would love to publish everybody on everything, but man, it's hard whenever you got to take.
Yeah, no,
I've only got like 50,000 words on the top end to work with for the magazine, so it's not always easy to get everybody in.
No, but I mean, hey, if you're able to submit it, that's a big step in and of itself. Not everyone.
Yep, I don't read bios. I don't care about your, whatever acronym you're a part of, whether it be SIFWA or something else, and
Yep.
Don't.
They just
don't
care about
care.
the story, and that's it.
Yep. You're basically, I record your email and then I download your story with an ID number, and that's about all that I know about you whenever I start reading. So
Awesome. So yeah, this is really nice that you have this set up, especially for people who are new and want to take a chance. Like, this is perfect. I mean, take it, try it. You never know what happens. This is cool. Very, very neat. I need to go look at more of these magazines because this is, I mean, you guys who are watching, definitely go check this out. This is really unique.
And if
from
you'll
what
click
I've
over on Iron Age Media, the
Oh, here
I
we
think
go.
that should take you there.
Yep.
We go. Yep. So, and then this is the website that started it all. I've been a little bit remiss the past week or two. I've been traveling, and anyway, so there's some chaos IRL. But the weekly prompts always go up. We're going to be voting on the January submission prompts, and these are just full disclosure. This is like AI art that I use as prompts for short stories. So I put one up every week, and it's been going I've been doing this since August, the end of August in 2022. So there's a huge number of short stories. If you want to read some short fiction for free, there is tons on this website. And I have everybody self-host their stuff, at least initially, so that they can drive traffic to their own websites. If you want to just look at what's been featured and what's won for the past, the most recent months, you can go to prompts, that prompts tab up top, or all prompts, either one, and see the feature submissions. So.
Very cool. I got distracted and I totally have lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I was like, oh, this looks awesome.
I figure we're right about that 1 hour mark. I don't want to keep you too long. So.
Oh no, it's okay. No, that's what it was. The using AI for the prompt visuals. Someone else I follow does the same thing, and I think that kind of helps from a a creative perspective, just like an idea, like just to spark that creativity,
Mm-hmm.
of that's related to the prompt. This is cool. Oh, you can vote on the submissions. Look
Oh
at this.
no, you can't right now.
No.
I forgot.
Just kidding.
This is what happens. This is what happens whenever I get too many irons in the fire, and so on and so
I
forth.
can sympathize with that.
Yeah, but you will soon. This
So
coming
soon
Friday.
we can vote. Soon we can vote.
Yeah.
But I do like that you have that because it's more involved for the readers. It's not just read
Mhm.
and disappear. You can read and give feedback on what your favorite story was.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the the biggest problem that indies have is getting seen, and getting the eyeballs to begin with, and so that can be it's a struggle. And so
Yeah.
this is just kind of my way of trying to help, even if you only get that 3 or 4 readers. Sometimes I think one of the problems that a lot of indies have is that they're like, oh, I want to get as many eyeballs as possible, and I want to get as much stuff, and that's all good. But what you really need to have, and this, at least this has worked out for me, is that you really need to get that core group of people who understand what you're doing, vibe with what you're doing, and want to help see you succeed. And if you can find those people, it doesn't take a lot. You know what I mean? And finding even one, each one of those people that you add is so valuable.
Yes.
So
Yep. People.
yeah, I hope that kind of helps some of those people who are just starting out, whether it be with short fiction or anything else. If they just want to submit kind of like an introduction to some of their larger stuff. My wife wrote a prompt, and it was a separate short story for one of her for her book that she's published.
Oh,
And so
nice.
you can use it for advertising. You can do whatever you want. And I think just find those critical those super fans and
Yep.
network with them as best you can.
Yes. No matter how small you are, you always have them. Rue is
Mhm.
one of them in the
Mhm.
chat for my channel. He's been here quite some time. So, those people are very important because they're also honest with you when you're getting
Mhm.
your feet out
Oh,
there,
yeah.
which is nice. So yeah, I like this, and
I resisted my urge to ask about the electrically controlled manual transmission, because I'm an engineer by trade, and I'm like, ooh, a mechanical thing. It definitely interests me much more than these people. So, John laughs because he knows what he knows how I really am. He's been in meetings with me with the whole Tempered Records, with the First Strike album, where I'm like, yes, but the numbers. I need the numbers and the things. I know you have feelings. I want to try and be delicate with whatever those are, but
That's okay. Yeah, I'm sure that if we were still here, he would probably love to talk about that with you. Oh man, yep. That's
Richard has the perfect personality to deal with a bunch of musicians. It really is the Like Driver project. I think so. Because it comes in and it cuts right at the top of, hey, this is still a business, right?
Right.
When you get 5 musicians together, that's the last thing on our minds. We're like, oh, we could do this. Let's do an extra minute.
Oh,
here.
gotcha.
That's very true.
He wrangles you guys in, basically.
Yeah.
It's like authors are generally, in my experience, they're at least introverted enough that they keep all those little ideas of theirs inside their head for the most part. But musicians, by God, they're all extroverted, and all those ideas that are in their heads, they just keep coming out.
Oh no!
At a certain point, you have to find some way to herd the cats.
Gotcha. I can see that. Just like a.
But I love these guys. The First Strike is awesome. Just to go back to that, I highly recommend it. It's going to be on the various streaming services as well, so you can check it out. There's the lead single "Power" by Evely Music is also up on the Iron Age Media YouTube channel. So
there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. There's now there's currently 3 issues of Anvil out there that you want to grab. There's flip throughs for issue number 1 and 2. I have a few interviews. I was doing fast finds for a little bit, but I am so awful. at pre-recorded content that it just
It's a lot of work. It is.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I've been rationalizing with myself. Well, maybe I'm going to start a podcast and I'll just have a segment called Fast Finds and blah blah blah. But we'll see. We'll see.
You'll get there. It's a lot
Yeah.
of work. I can totally sympathize with that.
I'd like to second the selling of First Strike because you have your 5 artists that are on there. I'm one of them, but we all did our own individual and original song. So we created a song for First Strike. So you have 5 originals, and then all 5 musicians got together and we did a collaboration. So on the EP, which is short for extended play, this is a this is a term that's dead now. This is a 90s term back when CDs were being sold, right? You've had 6 original songs. They're all really good. Really good.
Yes,
Quality
in almost
songs.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hefty EP at that. And so nobody there was no blood drawn during the discussion. Everybody worked together great. I was, I just kind of sat back and was able to occasionally be like, whip the cats and be like, oh, all right, come on. But for the most part, it was awesome. Jake and John and everybody did excellent. But John helped out a lot, and Jake Calta also helped out a lot with the mastering and whatnot.
It was like a 4 or 5 month process too. This stuff's time consuming. It takes a long time to produce music. So you have that. You have Anvil issue 3. You can get them both. I would recommend getting them both. You'll get a magazine, or you can have these short stories of all these writers that have other projects. So you might find somebody with a writing style that you really dig, and then you could just get their book. And their books are, pretty economical for the most part. I guess $10, $20, whatever it is. So to me, this is just gold. If you're looking for stories outside of the mainframe of the mainstream, people pouring their heart into original works. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're just trying to connect with you as a creator. The only place to go if you're looking for Iron Age works is Iron Age Media, or if you want it in video format, go to Royce's channel. I mean, that's King Richard is our EVS. King Richard is our Ethan Van Sciver. So
there you go.
I don't know about that, but
you have done a lot, though. I mean, I don't think you. Oh, maybe you do. The impact you've had, I've seen it. It just everywhere. Yeah, so
I'm think... very firmly of the opinion that I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people help me with stuff. The only reason why IronAge.media became the site that it is now is because other people wrote articles. Yeah, some of them were self-promo articles, and but there were plenty of reviews. There's all sorts of stuff. Everybody else has really been a huge help in this. So it's not something where, in my opinion, it's that I was necessarily instrumental. I just had the benefit to come in at the right time and I guess be good-natured enough that everybody was generous with their time and allowed me to mooch their talent. So
it's amazing. I think I love that your goal with this is amazing, and I think this is definitely something that people who are also breaking out into the indie scene should definitely look at and get a taste of it. I think this is a perfect introduction for people who are just getting their feet wet into the indie scene. So definitely thank you for putting all this together too. I'm sure that starting this off wasn't easy. Yeah. This is just fantastic. All right, let me put this back in the chat in case you guys missed it. Your YouTube or the Iron Age site in there too, and your YouTube in case people want to check out your future podcasts that you want to do for some stuff.
Yeah, I do weekly Sunday night streams where I just kind of stream whatever, and the live streaming regularity has made it so that I have to be accountable to actually do it for the most part. Gotcha. And pre-recorded content, I'm like, well, I'll just wait another day. It's okay. Nobody knows that it's coming out for sure, So I think I might have to have some external pressure to actually make me do it.
All right, yeah, you guys heard that. You need some pressure.
I got into doing pre-recorded content. I do my podcast bi-weekly, and you just have to start doing it, and you have to accept that there's going to be this time where you're just shit at it, and then you'll get better bit by bit. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
that's really it. It's about doing it and then getting better at doing it, and you'll I don't really look back, but I imagine if I look back on some of my older stuff, I'll be like, oh god, the mic was so bad, and I don't know what I was talking
Yes.
about. So but it's always an improvement process, but you can't start that process unless you start. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
Wise words.
100%.
I'm
Yeah,
sitting here
it's
nodding. You
very
can't
true.
see me, but I'm nodding with everything you just said in agreement.
That's
Yeah,
all. That's all of life, Joker. Is you suck for a while until you're good. So whatever you're doing, even if it's not creative, that's it. That's the secret of life. You just
Oh,
gotta
Slap it
yeah.
on a
prepare to suck
t-shirt.
for a little bit.
There you go.
yeah,
Suck
yeah,
till
no-
you're good.
yeah. Yeah, so but yeah, if you wanna I can always have you on my podcast and we can do
Oh
some
yeah,
creative
I'd
work
love
stuff.
to
Yeah.
talk to you, man.
Yeah, so just so you can get your feet wet.
Yeah, and I'm always looking for articles for Iron Age Media. So
Yeah, there you go.
you wanna do any advertising? We can do a little cross promotion there.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. All this collaboration, I love it.
Yes, me too. I love seeing that come together. Oh man. All right. Well, it's about an hour and a half later. So we'll be winding down now. I definitely want to say thank you to all three of you for coming on, especially for my first Indie Takeover live stream. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope I didn't fumble the audio too much. I hope that I was able to give your projects the justice they deserve to be seen and pitched and everything else. Definitely appreciate you giving me a chance to do that too. So, if you guys have any final words?
Well, thank you for having me on at least, man. I really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this is a fantastic opportunity and conversation, and I really appreciate being part of the first indie takeover. And I hope this is a thing that you do with a lot of other people. I love the independent scene. So
Yes.
yeah,
Definitely. I hope to have you guys on again in the future. You know, when JVP wraps up his number 8 issue, you know, we can get the next 10 issues
And
going.
begins his official Blu-ray release.
Yes,
Yeah,
there we go. We do launch parties for that, and then hearing Joker the Fool's prequel and his other books that he's going to be working on, and then Richard's podcasts. You know,
I need to get issue number 4 funded before I start talking podcasts.
Okay, all right.
We'll see.
All right, we'll make it work. We'll get to Anvil 4 and we'll fund it, and then like, all right, we're good. Let's go on. All right, so thank you guys again for coming out. Thank you for everyone watching. I hope you will click all the links that I spammed in the chat and you go check everything out. Follow everybody on their social media and their YouTube, bookmark their websites, whatever you got to do to make sure you don't forget about them and check out their work. Thank you again for stopping by this Sunday and taking your time to watch us and listen. All right, and we're going to end the video or the stream here, and we'll see you all in the next video or whatever else is going on our individual social medias and sites. Thank you guys again for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.